Property taxes for 50,000 American homeowners are about to be exactly $0 this January, marking the first time in modern history this has occurred. It's not a loophole, and it's not tax evasion. It is a new state law taking effect for 2026. But it's not just one state. From the super-exemptions in Texas to the senior freezes in the Northeast, and from the oil-rich plains of North Dakota to the beaches of Florida, they are quietly working on plans to cut property taxes to zero. Not reduce them, not freeze them, eliminate them entirely. Some are using energy money, others are redirecting tourism dollars or sales tax surpluses. A few are rewriting their constitutions. But all of them share one goal: to give homeowners true, lasting ownership for the first time in modern history. If these plans succeed, the ripple effect could rewrite the entire housing market and redefine what it means to own a home in America. So, tonight we're diving into the states leading the charge, where the dream of tax-free living property might soon be reality. If you are on a fixed income, you need to know which states are fighting to keep your money in your pocket. These property tax laws are changing rapidly in 2026. I am tracking 3 new bills that could freeze taxes for seniors. Subscribe right now so you get the notification the moment those laws pass. You don't want to miss the application deadline. Now let's dive in. Florida, the Sunshine Tax Shift. Florida has always sold a dream: palm trees, warm winters, and retirement without a state income tax. For decades, that promise made the Sunshine State one of the most popular destinations for retirees in America. Now, Florida is taking the next step, moving closer to tax-free homeownership for seniors. Florida already offers strong property tax protections. The Florida homestead exemption removes up to $50,000 from a home's taxable value, while the Save Our Homes cap limits annual property tax increases to just 3%. But as home values surged and retirees remained on fixed incomes, many homeowners still felt squeezed despite these safeguards. To address this, lawmakers introduced the Golden Years Property Tax Exemption, a statewide effort designed to freeze, and in many counties eliminate, property taxes for homeowners aged 65 and older who have lived in their homes for at least 10 years. Once qualified, property tax bills stop increasing. In some areas, they drop to zero. So how can Florida afford this shift? The answer is tourism. With more than 140 million visitors each year, Florida generates tens of billions of dollars in sales tax revenue from hotels, restaurants, attractions, and entertainment. That revenue helps fund schools and local services, allowing homeowners to pay less. In simple terms, tourists pay the taxes, and retirees keep the sunshine. Thanks to growing budget surpluses and a booming real estate market, Florida has been able to expand property tax relief without cutting services. The result is a powerful new model for retirement. In Florida, the promise of paradise isn't just about the weather anymore. It's about financial freedom and the chance to live in your home tax-free for life. North Dakota, the ballot box revolution. In North Dakota, a quiet but powerful revolution is underway, one that could make it the first state in U.S. history to eliminate property taxes entirely. This isn't a campaign slogan or a bill stalled in the legislature. It's a citizen-led ballot initiative backed by thousands of residents that could fundamentally change what homeownership means in America. Here's the plan. Instead of taxing homeowners year after year, North Dakota would fund local governments using the Legacy Fund, the state's $9 billion sovereign wealth fund built from oil and gas royalties. The fund generates hundreds of millions of dollars in annual investment income, potentially enough to replace the roughly $1.4 billion collected annually in property taxes statewide. The idea flips the traditional system upside down. Rather than funding public services by taxing private property indefinitely, the state would use its natural resource wealth, the oil beneath the ground, to pay the bill. For homeowners, especially retirees and fixed-income families, the impact would be enormous. The average North Dakotan currently pays about $2,700 per year in property taxes. Eliminating them would mean permanent relief, not temporary rebates or freezes. Pay off your mortgage, and you're done. No reassessments, no surprise tax hikes, no feeling like you're renting your home from the government. Critics point to oil price volatility, But supporters argue the legacy fund is diversified, professionally managed, and designed for long-term stability. They say the math works, and more importantly, the principle works. In North Dakota, ownership should mean something. And if voters approve this measure, this small state could ignite a national movement to abolish property taxes. Now, North Dakota may be cold, but what if you want warm weather and low taxes? Let's talk about the massive changes happening next in Texas. Tennessee, the quiet success story in property tax relief. While other states dominate headlines with billion-dollar tax proposals and heated political battles, Tennessee has taken a quieter, more disciplined path, one that is already putting real money back into the pockets of retirees and homeowners. With no state income tax, one of the lowest overall tax burdens in the U.S., and a balanced budget powered by booming industries like healthcare, technology, and tourism, Tennessee has built a strong financial foundation. That stability has allowed the state to implement something truly remarkable: full property tax reimbursement for eligible seniors. The program, known as the HUSP Property Tax Relief Program, is simple and effective. If you are 65 or older, a disabled homeowner, or a qualified veteran, Tennessee reimburses up to 100% of your property taxes each year. No gimmicks, no complex loopholes. Homeowners pay their property tax bill, and the state sends them a check. The program continues to expand. In 2024, lawmakers raised income limits so more retirees could qualify, and several counties now offer additional local exemptions on top of the state reimbursement. For many Tennesseans, this means their effective property tax bill is now zero. This is a quiet revolution in homeownership. While other states debate abolishing property taxes, Tennessee is already proving it can be done responsibly and sustainably. Funding comes from strong sales tax revenue and consistent budget surpluses, not higher taxes. For retirees, the result is peace of mind. The ability to stay in the home they built without fear of rising assessments forcing them out. In Tennessee, freedom doesn't need a spotlight. It arrives one reimbursement check at a time. South Dakota, the zero-tax contender. In South Dakota, financial independence isn't a campaign promise. It's long-standing state policy. With no state income tax, no corporate income tax, and one of the most efficient governments in the United States, South Dakota has quietly built one of the strongest fiscal records in the nation. Now, the state is eyeing its next bold move, drastically reducing and potentially eliminating property taxes. Like its northern neighbor, South Dakota is exploring ways to fund essential services without relying on homeowners. A proposal gaining traction in Pierre would redirect state budget surpluses, tourism revenue, and business-related taxes to gradually replace property tax collections. The timing couldn't be better. South Dakota is operating with a budget surplus for the third consecutive year, unemployment is near historic lows, and the economy, driven by agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, and banking, continues to outperform expectations. That financial stability gives lawmakers room to experiment. Several counties are already piloting property tax relief programs for seniors, including freezing assessments, refunding property taxes, and reducing levies on primary residences. While full abolition hasn't happened yet, these programs represent the clearest step South Dakota has ever taken towards zero property taxes. The logic is straightforward. If roads, schools, and public safety can be funded through alternative revenue streams, why continue taxing people on property they already own? Critics say the idea is too ambitious. But South Dakota has a long history of proving skeptics wrong. Decades ago, experts said it couldn't thrive without an income tax. Today, it's one of the most financially solvent states in America. For retirees and homeowners, the shift could mean lasting freedom, a place where owning your home truly means it's yours. In a country burdened by rising taxes, South Dakota may quietly become a leader in the zero-tax revolution. Nevada, the tourism economy experiment. Nevada has always built its fortune on bold bets. This time, the gamble isn't about casinos or resorts. It's about ending property taxes. For decades, Nevada has relied on its powerful tourism and entertainment economy to to fund public services. With no state income tax, the state already generates billions through gaming taxes, hotel occupancy taxes, and sales taxes. Now, lawmakers are exploring whether those same revenue streams could eventually replace property taxes altogether. The idea gained traction in Clark County, home to Las Vegas, where soaring home values pushed property taxes higher, especially hurting retirees and low-income homeowners. Local officials proposed a simple shift. Use hotel taxes and tourism-related fees to offset property taxes for full-time residents. In short, let tourists help pay the bills for the people who live there. Early results are promising. Pilot programs tied to senior exemptions and low-income property tax relief have already frozen or reduced tax bills for thousands of homeowners. Encouraged by that success, Nevada lawmakers are now discussing a broader plan that would redirect a portion of gaming, convention, and tourism revenue statewide, moving Nevada closer to a tourism-funded property tax model. The logic is hard to ignore. Nevada welcomes nearly 55 million visitors every year, all spending money on hotels, shows, restaurants, and entertainment, fully taxable economic activity that flows directly into public budgets. Lawmakers call it a win-win. Tourists fund services, residents keep their homes. Critics warn about relying too heavily on tourism, but Nevada's economy has proven resilient. By 2023, Las Vegas rebounded with record-breaking revenue. For homeowners, especially retirees, this shift could mean true peace of mind, living in a paid-off home without fear of rising property taxes. If successful, Nevada's experiment could become a blueprint for every tourism-heavy state in America, finally turning the house into the one that pays you. Kansas, the quiet comeback in property tax relief. For years, Kansas property taxes were a source of frustration. Rising assessments, complex formulas, and slow legislative action left many homeowners, especially retirees, feeling trapped. But quietly, beneath the national headlines, the Sunflower State has begun pulling off something remarkable: a grassroots-driven property tax reform that is already delivering real results. The turnaround began with seniors. In 2023, Kansas lawmakers approved a statewide program allowing homeowners aged 65 and older to receive full or partial property tax refunds on their primary residences, as long as household income falls below a set threshold. The principle was simple and widely supported. If you've spent decades paying into the system, you shouldn't be taxed out of your home in retirement. The program's success sparked momentum. By 2024, several counties expanded relief further by introducing assessment freezes and local property tax exemptions for long-term residents. Cities such as Topeka and Wichita began testing new funding models that rely less on property taxes and more on state revenue sharing. Kansas's economy, powered by agriculture, manufacturing, renewable energy, and exports, has made this shift possible. Post-pandemic budget surpluses and steady economic growth created a financial cushion lawmakers are now using to provide lasting homeowner tax relief. The long-term vision is ambitious. Phase out property taxes for seniors entirely within the next decade, replacing them with a mix of sales tax revenue and energy-related income. While full abolition hasn't arrived yet, the direction is clear. For retirees, the impact is already tangible. Thousands receive refund checks each year, and some counties report senior foreclosure rates nearing zero. Kansas proves that meaningful tax reform doesn't need fanfare. Sometimes progress arrives quietly, one check in the mailbox at a time. Utah, the growth-fueled model for property tax reform. Utah is quietly emerging as one of the most forward-thinking states in America when it comes to housing affordability and tax reform. While much of the country struggles with rising living costs and housing instability, Utah has managed to pair rapid economic growth with low taxes and strong home ownership. Now, the state is setting its sights on an ambitious goal: cutting property taxes to zero. The momentum comes from Utah's extraordinary economic expansion. Over the past decade, the state has added hundreds of thousands of new residents, built a thriving tech sector known as Silicon Slopes, and maintained one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation. Surging revenue from sales taxes, construction growth, and corporate expansion has created consistent budget surpluses. prompting lawmakers to ask a once unthinkable question. Do we still need property taxes? That question is now shaping policy. Utah's legislature is exploring a long-term plan to phase out property taxes over the next decade, replacing them with surplus funds and consumption-based revenue. The first phase is already underway, freezing property taxes for seniors and low-income homeowners to shield them from rising assessments. Future phases aim to eliminate property tax collections entirely. This isn't a sudden overhaul, it's a measured, sustainable transition. Utah's fiscal health remains among the strongest in the U.S., and continued population growth keeps the economy resilient. Critics worry about infrastructure strain or sales tax impacts, but lawmakers argue Utah's efficient budgeting and strong job market make the shift feasible. The payoff could be transformative. With the cost of living below coastal states and stabilizing home prices, eliminating property taxes could position Utah as one of the most attractive retirement destinations in America. From Salt Lake City's foothills to St. George's Red Rock valleys, Utah's vision is clear. True ownership powered by smart growth. Ohio. The middle-class rebellion in property taxes. In the heart of the Midwest, Ohio is quietly becoming a key player in America's property tax reform movement. Once considered moderate on taxation, the state's combination of growing suburbs, struggling small towns, and fixed-income retirees has created mounting pressure for change. Homeowners have watched property assessments skyrocket while wages barely budged, with some tax bills doubling in less than a decade. Retirees have been hit hardest, often forced to sell homes they've owned for decades. That frustration sparked a grassroots movement. Town halls filled, petitions circulated, and a clear message emerged: we're done paying rent on our own homes. In 2024, the legislature responded with the Property Tax Equality Act, capping annual appraisal increases and introducing Ohio's first-ever senior property tax freeze. Seniors aged 65 and older who have lived in their homes for at least 10 years can now lock in their property tax bills permanently. But the conversation isn't stopping there. Lawmakers are drafting a long-term plan to phase out property taxes entirely, starting with seniors and gradually extending to all homeowners. The plan would replace property tax revenue with Ohio's growing sales and business tax base, fueled by manufacturing, logistics, and tech growth in Columbus, Cincinnati, and beyond. Post-pandemic surpluses give the state room to experiment without cutting essential services. For local homeowners, the stakes are real. The average Ohio family pays roughly $3,500 per year in property taxes, money that could instead stay in savings, cover healthcare, or offset inflation. Critics call the plan ambitious, but supporters see it as overdue. Ohio is turning middle-class frustration into policy, proving that hard work should mean stability, not endless bills. If successful, Ohio could become the first major industrial state to abolish property taxes, setting a precedent that could reshape home ownership across America. In Ohio, the message is clear. Home ownership should truly mean ownership. West Virginia, the quiet push for property tax reform. West Virginia may not dominate headlines like Texas or Florida, but for many homeowners, property taxes in West Virginia have long been a quiet strain. In rolling hill towns, coal country, and close-knit communities where families have lived for generations, home ownership is meant to represent stability, not anxiety over rising tax bills. Today, the average West Virginia homeowner pays around $2,200 per year in property taxes, and in some counties, rates are high relative to modest home values. For retirees, fixed-income households, and working families, that cost can quietly erode already tight budgets. It's a hidden pressure that rarely makes national news but has real consequences at the kitchen table. Now, change is beginning to take shape. Inspired by property tax reform movements in other states, West Virginia lawmakers are debating proposals to reduce school and municipal property taxes while shifting some funding to modest sales and income tax adjustments. The focus isn't radical abolition, it's fairness, predictability, and homeowner protection. Lawmakers aim to prevent sudden assessment spikes that can force families into debt or foreclosure. At the local level, community advocacy groups are stepping up. Town halls, workshops, and outreach programs are helping homeowners understand property tax exemptions, credits, and legal relief options already available. Education is becoming a key tool in lowering tax burdens without destabilizing local services. West Virginia may not have North Dakota's oil wealth or Florida's Ballot initiatives, but its approach is measured and sustainable. Looking toward 2025 and beyond, the state could quietly emerge as a model for balancing property tax relief with fiscal responsibility, proving that meaningful reform doesn't always need headlines to make a real difference. Texas, the blueprint for abolishing property taxes. In Texas, freedom has always been more than a slogan. It's a way of life. Now, for millions of homeowners, that freedom may soon include freedom from property taxes. The Lone Star State famously has no state income tax, but for decades, property taxes in Texas have been among the highest in the nation. Many Texans accepted this burden as the price of economic growth. That mindset is changing fast. In 2023, Texas lawmakers passed a historic $18 billion property tax relief package, the largest in state history. The legislation raised the homestead exemption to $100,000, reduced school district tax rates, and capped annual property appraisals, offering immediate relief to homeowners. But Governor Greg Abbott made it clear this was only the beginning, not the endgame. Abbott's long-term vision is bold: abolish property taxes in Texas entirely. The proposal would replace property tax revenue with sales and consumption taxes, funded by Texas's massive budget surplus, which reached $33 billion last year. Instead of taxing what people own, the state would tax what people spend, shifting from ownership-based taxation to consumption-based funding. With one of the fastest-growing populations and strongest economies in the United States, Texas may have the scale to make this plan work. Supporters argue it restores true homeownership, the ability to fully own your home forever. Critics warn of financial risk. Still, if any state can eliminate property taxes, it's Texas, where independence isn't just an idea, it's policy in progress. 2026 is the year of the tax reset. If your state isn't on this list, it might be time to vote with your feet. Now that you know where the taxes are low, you need to know where the houses are actually cheap. Watch this video next on the 10 cheapest states to buy a home.